everybody to Amphitheatre C of the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex for a discussion that we believe is very, very important indeed. It is probably the first major event of the organization known as the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And the purpose of our dialogue here is to create an environment in which we can discuss issues that affect fathers very significantly. Our theme for our discussion is Fatherhood in Society, Issues and Solutions. And I want to welcome everyone to the amphitheater who are here to be part of the dialogue, to listen, to contribute, to offer perspectives, and hopefully we can have a very interesting dialogue. And at the end of it, we can get some sense of moving the process forward and dealing with some of the significant issues that face fathers in society in Trinidad and Tobago, especially single fathers, as we are hosting an event that is being staged by the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me introduce our members at the head table, beginning at my right. We have Dr. Robert Lee Moultrie, a medical practitioner, someone who's very much involved in social issues. He's a counselor, and as you can tell, he's ready for a fight. He's clearly in a combative mood, so it should make for a very interesting dialogue. Right next to him is someone who he probably needs, a clinical psychologist, to help us all along, Dr. Karen Moore. Good to have you here with us as well, to be part of the dialogue. To my immediate left, Margaret Sampson Brown, retired from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. She's now heading, she's the manager of the Victim and Witness Support Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And looking across at the main man of SFAT, Rondell Fields, probably just ensuring that he stays in line, is the president of the organization, Rondell Fields, as I mentioned. Welcome all to the head table. And the format we will take for our discussion is to invite the various members of the head table in 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe 4, if you can, because we want to keep it as concise as possible, to deal with a particular issue in relation to our topic that is of concern, something that you feel necessary to be highlighted. And from that, we will then move the dialogue forward. We'll invite questions from the floor. I might pose a few questions myself that could stimulate further discussion in trying to understand our major theme, again, fatherhood in society, issues and solutions. So beginning at my right, let me invite Dr. Moultrie in a couple of minutes to identify or raise any particular issue that would be relevant to our topic, fatherhood in society, issues and solutions. Dr. Moultrie.
Oh, thank you, Fazir, and good evening, everybody. That's quite a broad topic. I do have to confess, I thought it was fatherhood in the courts. I was ready to go. But fatherhood issues in society, it brings it to a much broader picture where it extends into the courts. One of the major things for a 2 to 3 minute start off that I would say is everything begins with the mind. The mind of a father is highly influenced by the minds that influenced that father when it was a child. And that father will influence minds to their own children, and consequently grandchildren, etc. Lots of times we look at the father, at the adult. If he does something wrong, we look and put him to position of responsibility. What's wrong with this man? So. I won't go into examples. But lots of times those things that are quote unquote wrong or some disorientation that happened when he was a child that were never corrected into when he reached that age, whatever that invisible age is that we call manhood, and he still has those issues undealt with. And then he has sex. That's how we have children. And with that child, he still has those issues undealt with. We have a society that has a lot of injuries towards their negative thinking towards their own father. There are lots of issues and reasons why that is. And when it happens once, not corrected. It can happen in the next generation, not corrected. It can happen in a family, not corrected. A community, not corrected. A nation, not corrected. and has a whole host of psychosocial consequences that happens. And a lot of that is that we have a mind of men now that has low self-esteem, low confidence, low sense of self-worth because of messages given to them vocally, through body behavior, through ignoring him, through body language, through stoops, through eye contact, through a whole lot of things that have a deep, dark, negative psychological impact. And then we see stimulant results of this, which I'm sure we'll get into in more detail.
Dr. Moultrie, in that context, when you talk about the mind and dealing with the mind, is it that men enjoy being in this environment of victimhood? That they see everything, the whole world is against them? That whether it's the courts, whether it is the partner who helped produce that child or whatever, is it a comfortable feeling, as uncomfortable as the overall circumstances may be, to basically say that this whole world, this whole society, the system in Trinidad and Tobago is against them, and that creates an environment in the mind of victimhood?
Very few men will ever use that word victim. They despise it. They will do whatever they can do to try to fight and to win and to make things better. And when they have forces that act against them, they're trying to figure out how to work these forces. Sometimes they kind of give up, go drinking, go smoking, do other things. But now more and more men are starting to, used to be just, use a man, be strong about it. And so you have a problem, you're supposed to sweep it under and just go to work and go about daily activity. But we had a whole host of problems then, but now the problems are even more from that behavior and not addressing things. So now men are feeling more and more confident to be able to address it. And that's another thing, the ability to address.
Let's introduce Dr. Karen Moore, clinical psychologist, to the discussion. Dr. Moore, what would you identify that would be relevant to our topic this afternoon?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think a reflection on fatherhood is long overdue, and I think fathers need to reflect very deeply before they become fathers on what parenthood and fatherhood means. And I think that's part of what Dr. Moultrie was trying to say. And I want to talk about the situations that appear benign, where there's the father in the house and there's the mother in the house, everybody's present, there's an intact family. But what I have often found with that kind of family is that there isn't an equal participation in the parenting. And I'm not saying that to blame the father in the situation. It's not culturally expected. And we don't require it, we don't demand it, and it's because if that unit breaks apart, what you then see are the holes in the relationship that were not apparent before when you had both parents there. Because when they're both parents, one of them can be doing less than the other, whether it's the mother or the father. And because there's a combination, the child is still getting everything he or she needs. When you reflect on your role as a parent, I think you need to reflect on what your relationship will be with that child if, God forbid, the worst happened and the other parent just wasn't there. Do you have a deep enough and strong enough bond with that child to carry on, to help the child through that trauma and that difficulty, and carry on as the single parent to that child? We don't start off a family thinking about being a single parent. We don't want to be single parents. But what I am saying is, in some ways you need to operate as if it could happen, and therefore you have the kind of relationship with that child that you can carry alone. And we don't do that. Culturally, psychologically, emotionally, there tends to be a lot of exclusion of fathers from the parenting role. For some fathers, that's okay. Some fathers don't even realize it. Some fathers actively work against that. But too much of the time, he's present, but not present enough to his children. And what I've seen very sadly in cases of divorce or separation, that's when suddenly the father who looked good enough in combination doesn't look good enough as a unit and has to now start building that relationship. And there's some wonderful cases where he realizes, oh, I really need to do something here, and builds that relationship with the children, and it becomes much stronger. But sometimes that doesn't happen because he's never had to do it before. All the slack has been pulled up.
In the context of basically what might happen in our present circumstances with the very open levels of sexuality that occurs. It's fulfilling a sexual urge, fulfilling a biological urge. Is it realistic to expect that the level of preparedness for fatherhood, motherhood, parenting in the Trinidad and Tobago of 2013?
Right now, our young people, you're correct, are not prepared to reflect, but they need to get prepared to reflect. Otherwise, we are going to continue having, as Dr. Moultrie said, the generations of children whose parents never reflected about what it would be like to bring them up. And if they have not had that example of reflection, they're going to do the same reproduction without reflection pattern. And we're seeing the results of that right now, and I think none of us is happy with that, and that is why we're here. It has got to start somewhere.
Margaret Sampson Brown, tremendous experience in the police service, dealing with a number of key areas socially in the police service. Give us your own take on the issues that we are discussing relating to fatherhood in society.
Because of the many reports coming to us, and the persons reporting are women, perceivably it may appear as if fathers or male have a second role. For this year, 2013, the Victim and Witness Support Unit have already investigated or already met almost 1,000 clients, none of which the persons reported are male. They are female, reporting offenses against the male of many, child sexual abuse, domestic violence, whatever. And it's because of that perception that the Domestic Violence Act was made for women that we believe that the male are not coming forward. Recently we have seen some men reporting issues of domestic violence, and we have been dealing with it, but it has been in the minimum. And we are saying that we know that there are male existing or experiencing severe domestic violence situations in the home, and we need for them to come and report it, because the Victim and Witness Support Unit is a supportive unit. It's a unit which supports the investigator. It's a unit which is on call 25 hours a day, which assists you. Once you make the report, we will support you through the process from beginning to end. And I'm seeing my friend leaning her head like this. But it's true, it's true, the Victim and Witness Support Unit is a unit existing since 2008. And when I retired from the police service in 2011, I took up the mantle as the manager. And from then till now, we are existing in all the divisions. There are 2 professional officers in all the divisions to assist the male in the many situations that they find themselves in.
But Mrs. Brown, you really expect men to come forward and say that I get beat up, I am the victim of abuse, so that the people in the charge room go laugh at them and say, look at this soft man, look at this bebe, so and so. In the macho society of Trinidad and Tobago, do you really expect males to come forward willingly to say, I need support, I need to be rescued from my circumstances?
We have had male who have done so, and I'm hoping that this program, that more male will come forward to be able to address this situation. How could we treat it? Either they stay silent, or at the end, we have our women folk with half their head off, their hands off, and their mother and father crying and burying them. We need to be able to provide a space for our men to be able to vent and to speak. And the Victim and Witness Support Unit, with 17 professional officers, is willing to work with you men through your crisis.
Rondell Fields, President and founder of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago and prime mover of this particular event. Your main thoughts as we continue our discussion.
Well, the whole thing is, the main issue is the lack of appreciation for fathers. In society, the society we live in, there's a lack of appreciation for it. We don't study the men that go there and work the slave hours, the extra hours to take care of the family. We don't study the men that, in other words, that hurt as well. And the reason why we went so broad as to say father in society, not just in court, because in other words, society itself has turned their back on men, so to speak, on fathers. In other words, we get the dry end of the stick a lot of times. And at the end of the day, why men don't speak? Sometimes a man come to speak, and as Fazir said, he's not taken seriously. So why speak? You understand? So these are some of the issues, and we need to come forward with solutions where we could get men to come out, get fathers to come out and speak, talk about the issues that they're having. You understand? And fathers we are always branded. We always branded in the negative. We always, not to say what Dr. Karen Moore is saying is untrue, but the transition from manhood to fatherhood for me was such a dynamic thing that I wanted to be involved in every aspect of it. And there are many fathers that are like this. Gone are the days when a man don't want to feed a bottle. Gone are the days when a man don't want to say, hey, I want to be a part of my kid's life. Reason being, many of us didn't have fathers to do this for us. And the thing is, we need to be given that space, need to be given that respect, need to be given that appreciation and permission to do these things. Sometimes men live together with women and he change the pampers. Nah, don't change the pampers so you ain't change it good. You pull it off. So what you do to the man when you do that? All right, well, I can't change the pampers, you change it all the time. So at the end of the day, it's not just that the man might not want to do, is he really permitted to do? How much is he allowed to do? You understand? In other words, it comes like a woman when she's learning to cook. She mightn't cook the best one time, but you know the man that say, good girl, our food tastes good. So sometimes we need women to appreciate and encouragement, to encourage them into fatherhood. Yeah, boy, you change the pampers a little bad enough. Do it this way next time. And that is where we need that union, that way we need that communication. And this is one of the reasons we push this fatherhood drive in society. So we could get mothers and fathers to get together, work together for the benefits of our children.
Rondell Fields, how do you expect wider society to respect fathers, give them space, give them that respect when fathers in significant numbers don't even respect their roles as fathers, as is clearly evident in Trinidad and Tobago?
We say clearly evident because we see the cases that are highlighted. Now we're highlighting a whole different aspect of it. Now I could show you a number of fathers that want to be involved. So those who have been shown in the past times who don't want any part, now I could call on a full membership to show, hey, I want to be there. I want to change pampers. I want to drop my son to school. I want to stay home and do homework with my son. And they have always been in existence. They have just been in silence. So this is part of the drive, to get men out, let men speak. Let men say, hey, I am a father. Nuclear, as I said, there are many fathers in their nuclear homes who have done what they have done well. And they'll just stay silent. Well, I'm not a single father, so I have no reason to talk. But the thing is, it's not a labeling on single fatherhood alone. It's a labeling on fatherhood that we are seeing. That the concept, the belief of society is that fathers are generally not good parents. This is why the courts see it so easy to just hand custody over to the mother. Because our father, as we said, is another word, is not as in, he doesn't know to take care, the child might be in danger, where in reality of things, there have been many good fathers, not only now, even in the days of the bad ones, who have run the course, they just have been silent about it.
Opening thoughts of our four panelists here with us this afternoon.